Most people think automations is about following instructions, but what if your workflow could think, adapt, and make decisions on their own? In this masterclass, I will show you how to unlock full potential of AI agent n8n. The same approach we use inside the Fiction AI, where we build 5-figure automation systems for clients, and Builders Lab, where we teach over 200 members how to create intelligent systems just like this. Stick around because later I'll reveal a setup that can make autonomous decisions, and it will completely change how you think about automations. Let's dive in. So, getting straight into the action. What is an AI agent, if you may ask? So, I want you to think of it like this. Old way of doing automation, and then there's a new way of doing automation. We're going to start with the old way. So, most people think automation just means connecting apps. Like if I get a message, I send it to Notion, for example. Well, there's a flaw with that, because that is not intelligent. That's just following orders. It works until something unexpected happens, then it breaks. Well, here's the new way, the agentic manner. And this is why AI agents exist. They are not fixed scripts in the way of like, so this happens, this happens. They are like digital teammates that can actually think on their own. And how they think is that they analyze what's going on, reason about the situation, and choose what to do next, just like a normal human would in the same moment. And here is how the agent thinks. Here's the process broken down. So, first of all, you provide it with an input, which is basically what you type in or what it gets from another app. It analyzes what's going on from various sources, or should I say from various points of views. After that, it reasons about the situation and weighs different options. Then it chooses the best path of action to take, whether that be calling tools or responding it. Now, here's a simple agent setup you can find n8n. So in a tool like n8n, this looks simple. It starts with an input node here, and then an AI processing step, which you can see here, and then we have an output, which is basically what you would receive at the end or what you would be given to another app. The magic is in the processing step, which is this, which isn't a fixed rule but an active decision making call. Later we'll go deeper into how to prompt this so that works aligned with what you're looking to get. And you can see we don't just provide a prompt, we provided a chat model, basically the brain of the AI agent. Any LLM model, it could be GPT-5, it could be the Grok model, it could be the Claude models, it could be the Gemini model. Then we provide it with memory so that it has context of the past conversation that were in that session. Then we also provided tools, and this is one of the most important parts of it, which we would go deeper into it later. So now, here's a quick analogy to make it a bit more easier to understand for you. Let's think of the playlist versus the DJ. A normal workflow is like pressing on a Spotify playlist, example that you've already compiled and made on your own. The songs never change, and there's a shuffle, which basically pulls from this song to this song, but then the songs never change. But recently there's an AI feature which changes, so I'm going to use that analogy. An AI agent is more like a DJ. It picks the next tracks based on the vibe. So you know that AI tool, or should I say that AI feature that Spotify recently implemented, where if you click on it, it would find songs similar to what is in the playlist. That is basically what you can think of an AI agent as. And here's another example, the support bot. A standard workflow bot is basically built as just a workflow that just sends every question to ChatGPT and replies. And an AI agent bot in this case would be a support bot built as an agent that checks the tone, the urgency, and maybe even context for past messages and decides whether to respond, escalate, or route the conversation elsewhere. And the key takeaway that you should take from this is basically a workflow is a fixed recipe, while an AI agent is the chef who adjusts when ingredients change. So why do we need AI agents in the first place? Well, there's the hype and then there's the reality. Every single week there's something new happening in the AI space. There's new agentic tools, there's new software is coming out. And here's what that causes, because there's a real dilemma in the business owner space right now. If you have been speaking with business owners or you've been taking sales calls with business owners, because everyone keeps shouting, you need AI agents, but most of the time you do not. Because I've looked at a lot of business processes in my work at Fiction AI, which is my agency, and to be honest, 90% of businesses don't need it. A well-structured automation can handle what they need perfectly. The hype makes everyone overcomplicate simple processes. But there's an exception. For that 10% of cases where you do need adaptive reasoning, AI agents change everything, and that is where they shine. Because what AI agents handle that workflows can't, in this example, complex decisions, they handle stuff that breaks normal workflows, like ambiguous situations. Another thing is uncertain data. They can interpret messy or incomplete information. A workflow has to take strict inputs, but an AI agent can take anything as an input and multiple possible paths. They choose the best route, not just the only route provided to them. So for that 10%, AI agents can automatically detect problems, reroute tasks, and even learn how to make better decisions over time. So now, when do you use them? And that's exactly what this guide is for, helping you identify when to bring AI agents into your automation stack, and not just knowing when, but also knowing how to do it the right way. So now, let's make it real. We'll head over to n8n to compare two examples side by side. First of all will be an AI calendar agent, and second of all will be a lead generation workflow. And this will help you clearly see the two differences between the traditional automation and true autonomous reasoning. So we are here in our n8n workflow. You can see two workflows here. You can see a normal workflow and you can see an agentic workflow here. So we're going to start with the normal workflow. So what this workflow does in simple terms is that it basically scrapes businesses from Google My Business using API, so that it loops over each business, and for each business it loops over, it scrapes their website. Then it goes through the HTML that is scraped and searches for the social media profiles and stuff like that. After that, it puts everything together, and once it's done looping, it converts everything into a presentable format, which could be a CSV, and sends it back. So this workflow is fast and automated. It gets the job done. And the cons of it is that it's linear and fixed. It follows steps exactly and cannot adapt to unexpected situations. So let's say, for example, what if it did not find any social media profiles, or what if the website restricts people from scraping the website? How is it gonna think outside the box and still get the job done? That is what we have an AI agent for. As you can see here, this is a bit of a different comparison, but this is an AI agent that books appointment basically. So you provide in your query, which could be, let's say, I want to book an appointment by 5 p.m. and it basically sets the time zone offset. So it basically converts the user time into, let's say, a UTC time. And then we have an appointment booking agent here, which has access to about 5 tools. You can see it gets booking information, it books appointment, it checks availability of that appointment that it wants to book, it cancels booking, and it also reschedules. So let's say it was linear, for example, and let's say I want to book an appointment by 5 p.m. This is the user query. And let's say in the calendar, there's an appointment by 5 p.m. So let's say it just has access to this tool, which is book appointment tool. And it goes ahead to book that appointment, which means there will be a double booking, which would cause errors in production. So we want to avoid that. So we make an agentic workflow, which can reason on its own. So what it's going to do, or what it has been instructed to do here in the prompt, if you see the prompt, we'll go deeper into how to prompt an AI agent, but you can see the prompt here. It's quite in-depth. What we asked, or should I say, what we trained the AI agent to do based on the prompt is that when we get a time, first of all, it checks the availability of that time. So it doesn't just go ahead and books the appointment. So if after it checks the availability, once the availability is confirmed, it books the appointment. If the availability is not confirmed, it responds back to the user and tells it, okay, the time that you chose is currently not available, but here are some other available time. And once the user responds back, it has context of the past conversation. So it's going to use that context and it's going to check again. And if it's available, it's going to book. So now let me give you another scenario. Let's say that user wants to reschedule their appointment. It still has context of the first two conversation, which is why an AI agent is very good compared to, let's say, a linear workflow like here, which doesn't have context of the past runs or conversation. So first of all, what it's going to do is that it's going to first check the availability of the new requested time. After that, it's going to reschedule the appointment using this tool. If it's not available, it's going to tell the user that it's not available and here a new time. So that is how the reschedule appointment tool works. Here's another final scenario. Let's say the user wants to, let's say, cancel or get their booking information. So first of all, they get their booking information and then they see that, okay, this is not really the appointment that I wanted to do and I would like to cancel it. So once it gets the booking information, the user is going to basically say, can you please cancel the appointment? Normally, when the AI agent doesn't have access to memory, it wouldn't know which appointment to cancel, but because this time it knows what booking we're talking about, it's just going to go ahead and cancel it. And what powers all this reasoning is this OpenAI chat model tool, or should I say this model, which you can select any model that you want to power this AI agent with. And the pros of learning agentic workflow is that smart, autonomous, and it makes decision-making automations, like you can see here. Like I've said, only 10% of business processes apply to this. Most cases, you'll be better off using this. And there's an important tool that I'll show you later that makes this AI agent even more better, so it can even reason, just like how LLM reasoning models can reason, like O1, O2, O3. So yeah. So now, how do you prompt an AI agent? So here's the goal with autonomous agents when it comes to prompting. You want to make your AI agent understand its role, follows rule, and reason through task and act autonomously. This section teaches you how to build a reliable AI using structured prompts and ensuring your AI agent behaves exactly as you intend. Because it's quite typical that an AI agent, basically, you might give it a basic prompt and it acts as you do not intend it to act. And that is why most people say AI agents are not reliable. But yes, there's a truth to that. But then you'd have to first of all make sure that your prompt is extremely good, which is why we have this guide here. First of all, Markdown. Markdown is extremely important. It's not just for the looks, it's critical for structured reasoning of the AI agent. First of all, you want to distinguish elements, which helps the AI clearly distinguish between rules, tasks, conditions, and even examples. Another thing that Markdown helps is for parsing clearly. Proper formatting allows the agents to parse complex instructions without ambiguity. Another one is follows workflows. This enables the AI to follow complex and multi-step workflows reliably. And finally, so that it can act reliably. So it prevents the agent from misinterpreting tasks and acting incorrectly. So now, the first step, defining the role, which is the persona of the AI agent. So without a clear role, outputs can be vague, inconsistent, or miss the desired tone that you're looking to achieve. And here's the solution. You assign a specific persona using the bold text markdown to highlight the agent's type of role. So you can use this, which is basically heading 2 or heading 3, to separate layers of prompts. And this helps the AI agent understand the structure. And an example could be, here's a persona, a calendar assistant. Let's say you're a calendar assistant that manages scheduling, reminders, and conflicts efficiently. Another one could be your lead generation AI agent that finds qualified leads and organizes them in a CRM-friendly format. That is a persona. I'll show you a practical guide to applying all of this easier. So second of all, setting the guidelines and rules. Here's the problem with AI agents. AI agents can make mistakes or act outside of their expectation. And here's a solution with that. So we provide clear, explicit rules in a list format, which would basically be in a bullet point format. And all we tell it to do, for example, could be, okay, always double check for conflicting events, or respond in a friendly and concise tone, or flag uncertain data instead of guessing. And finally, log all actions for accountability. Here's the markdown tip. So lists help the AI agent distinguish multiple instructions and follow them accurately. And how you achieve this is basically by running the AI agent multiple times and seeing where it falls back, or should I say where it's not meeting your expectations. So where it's not meeting your expectations, you can basically add a guideline, or should I say a rule, that would help the AI agent not fall below those expectations. So it's all a feedback loop. The more you run your AI agent, the more you test it, the better it gets. So it's not just going to be the creme de la creme, the best AI agent, the first draft. You have to improve the prompt iteratively. So now, assigning a task, which is quite important. Actually, I would say it's even one of the most important. An example here with an AI agent that schedules meeting. A task for it could be to find available times, manage invites, and handle conflicts. Another one for lead extraction could be to collect and categorize leads from websites or documents. And finally, for the email summarization could be to read emails, highlight key action items, or summary. So now, the conditional logic, which is a continuation of the task, which is step 2 that I just showed you. So going back to the calendar agent example, so you're basically giving a conditional logic in the sense of if-else statement. So if a requested meeting conflicts, suggest alternative slots. So you don't just let it go on its own. So let's say if a requested meeting conflict, it doesn't even know what to do. But here you're basically pushing it in a direction. You're not telling it what to do specifically, but you're pushing it in a direction, because if you push an AI in the right direction, it's more likely to do what you expect it to do. So you can see here, we're pushing it in a direction. We're telling it, okay, to suggest alternative slots. Another example could be if Zoom is required. It basically generates a link and attaches it. So you see, we're pushing it in that direction. And another one could be if a user cancels. So what it does is that it removes the user from that meeting and it notifies participant. So you see, we're pushing it in a direction. Another one could be with a lead gen agent. So let's say a lead is missing contact info. So what the AI agent would do would be, would flag and tag that particular lead needs a follow-up. Another one could be if the lead is a high priority. So it adds that need to the CRM and then it sends a notification. All this can be done using tools. So, and finally, one could be if the need is a duplicate. So we merge the need and then we log that action that, okay, this lead was a duplicate, and then we merge them into one. So I hope you understand it. As I've said, I will show you a bit more practical example of prompting so that you would gain a bit of more better understanding. But this is just to give you the fundamentals of what makes a prompt for an AI agent. This is extremely important. So the problem with AI is that without examples, it's hard for an AI to understand how to reason correctly. So what we do is that we provide few short examples showing the entire process from input to action, and this format is golden. But before we get into the format, few short examples is even how the LLM models are trained in the first place. You give it an input, and then you give the AI an output, and then it learns based on those two pairs, and that is even how you fine-tune agent. And here's the format that we use. So we first give an example of a user input, then we give an example of how we would reason on our own. Then thirdly, we tell the AI agents, or should I say, based on the reasoning and the user input, we give it the course of actions to take. So it's just basically like decoding how you actually think, just writing it down in a structured format and providing it to an AI agent. So that is basically how you prompt an AI agent. And the markdown tip for this is that you should always use heading, bold labels, and inline code to keep examples structured and readable for the AI agent. As I've said, I'll show you how all of that comes into play in a practical guide. So now here's an example of a conditional logic. So let's see, here's a calendar agent, and here is one of the use cases, a new meeting request. A user input could be, okay, schedule a meeting with John at 3 p.m. And the reasoning is that 3 p.m. conflicts with another meeting, so suggest the next available slot. So the agent action will be check calendar, propose 4 p.m. as an alternative schedule if true. So another use case could be cancellation. The user input is like, cancel my 2 p.m. meeting with Sarah. And the AI reason will be identify meetings in my calendar first of all, then notify participants of cancellation. Then an action that it would take is that remove events from calendar and notify the participants of the cancellation. Another one for a lead generation agent. First of all, the user input is finding leads from an XYZ website. The reasoning would be, okay, identify target pages, the pages that you're more likely to find leads. Extract relevant info and categorize them based on email or industry. And the actions will be to use a web scraper to collect leads and populate the CRM and log actions. So the AI agent in this case could have 3 tools that it has access to. It has a web scraper tool, it has the CRM tool, and then it has the log actions tool. So we'd use the web scraper tool first of all to collect the leads. When it has collected the leads and the tool has responded back, it's going to populate it in the CRM. Then finally, it's going to log the action. So that is basically how it works, logic-wise. And now we have another use case, incomplete data for the lead gen agent. Let's say the user input was add John Doe, but an email was missing and you need an email in order to add that particular person, let's say, to your CRM. So the reasoning will be the data is incomplete and you need to follow up. And the actions I need to take is that add lead with needs follow-up tag in the CRM and schedule a reminder to gather more info from that need. Now the results of all of this. What this gives you is a reliable AI agent because by structuring prompts with headings, bold text, list, inline code, and clear examples, the AI can now correctly read instructions, reason through tasks, and execute actions reliably. And this framework trains the agent to handle complex and multi-action workflow. And here is basically the template that I've been telling you about. So if you were to open this, I'm going to provide this in the Builders Lab community, which is the first link in the description below, and you can see the prompt, basically the prompt template that you can copy and use. So you can see you are a type of agent responsible for the primary purpose that the agent has to take, and then we have the guidelines which you would normally get after running the agent multiple times. Then we have the task, which is basically describing the task you want the AI agent to perform, which is going more deeper into the primary focus. Then we have the conditional instruction, which is basically going deeper into the primary purpose. Then we have the conditional instruction, which is basically teaching your AI how to handle different edge cases that it might come up against and making sure it meets your expectations when those edge cases come. So we provide, if this edge case happens, do this. If this edge case happens, do this. And then we go a bit deeper into that by providing it with actual examples of how to handle those edge cases, but not just providing examples, but showing it the reasoning process and the actions that it should take. And you can see here for the markdown, we provided with heading 2 here for all of the 5 main categories, which is role, guidelines, tasks, conditional instructions, and example layer. And you can see here we're also using the inline code formatting for the edge cases. You can see here. So it just makes the AI agent be able to read and understand the prompts better. I'll show you an actual prompt which would put this more into like a retrospect understanding for you. So now in order for me to show you this, so we're going to go back to this workflow that I just showed you before, and we're going to grab the prompt of the AI agent. We're going to use Stack Edit. I recommend this tool for basically writing your prompts because it makes it very, very easy for you. You can actually see it here in a well-structured format if you want to read it. And I'm going to provide access to it in the same page where you can get access to the prompting guide in the community. So by just clicking on this, you're going to get access to it. And you can see here, I broke down the prompt in the five categories. We have the role here, we have the guidelines, we have the task, we have the conditional instructions, then we have the example layer. But before we get into that, let me quickly show you the tools that this AI agent has access to. You can see there is the get booking information tool, there's the book appointment tool, check availability tool, cancel booking tool, and reschedule appointment tool. So this is just going to give you a bit more context when you're going deep into this part. So you can see for the role here, it basically tells you your own class appointment booking specialist. So just making sure we're giving the persona of the best persona that I could have. And you're responsible for, you can see that the primary purpose for managing all appointment related requests with precision and structure. You can only perform 5 specific rules: get booking information, booking an appointment, checking availability, and canceling the booking, and also rescheduling booking using the corresponding tools and task protocol. I also provided with guidelines, and these guidelines, we basically lent all of these guidelines, or should I say we derived all of these guidelines by running the agents multiple times. You can see the first guideline is communicate in a conversational tone, but always organize responses clearly and systematically. You can see use contextual time using, you can see we provided here with a JavaScript inline code to interpret user requested booking in ISO format. So we take the user's time and we convert it into ISO format. And for the third guideline is that we tell it that it's strictly limited to the 5 defined rules and tasks. If asked beyond them, inform the user that you can only perform those. So we are limiting the AI agent, which is extremely good too as well. And for the fourth one is always ask clarifying questions when the request is unclear, so that it doesn't go and make a mistake. And also when greeted with hello, introduce yourself as the appointment booking agent, because sometimes this uses text hello. So this we also derive from running the agent multiple times, and each rule requires user details, email, date, and time. Once all details are provided, execute immediately without redundant confirmation. This also we derived it from running the agent multiple times. And also find and maintain exceptional accuracy and structure. Your professional reputation depends on flawless execution. So by putting the reputation of the persona on the line, the AI agent surprisingly performs better. And then here we have the task. We are providing them 5 tasks, which is basically the 5 steps. So you can get booking information, which is basically retrieve existing booking details using email address, or book appointment, or check availability, or cancel booking, or reschedule booking. So each role has a dedicated tool and step-by-step execution method. So you can see here the conditional instructions for all the 5 edge cases. So you can see if get booking information, use the get booking tool, request for the user's email, validate that the email must include @ and domain, so that we would be able to get the user's booking information from our database. And if valid, run the get booking tool with the attendee email, and then present the retrieved data in a consistent structured manner. So you can see this one of the edge cases, and we repeat the same for the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And now we have the example layer. Now we're actually providing them with real user data so that you can actually perform in production. Here, and here's the user input, which says, can you check if I have a booking on the John Smith? And the reason is that the user wants to get booking details, which requires the email validation. So we basically run it through the email validation, and then after that we run the booking tool. So first of all, it validates if the email is correct. If it's correct, it proceeds with the next step. If it's not correct, it prompts the user to make sure that it's to provide it in the right format. And then we run the get booking tool with the attendee email being John Smith, and then retrieve and present the results. And you can see here we do it with the second example tool as well. So with this prompt example, basically gives and makes sure our AI agent performs as we expected it and intended it to be. And once you're done writing your prompt, you can basically just copy it here and just paste it back. This workflow here. Voila. That is basically how you prompt an AI agent. And how we're going to test this is just by using the conversational feature. But if you're going to go in depth, you can add memory and tools like I have said. So all you do is connect it up with the chat model. You can see you can connect it up with the Anthropic models, Azure models, the DeepSeek models. You can see most are available. All we're going to do is that we're going to choose the Open Router, because Open Router, it's a software that gives you a unified interface for accessing almost all LLMs, and the interface is like unified, so like the endpoint is always similar. All you have to do is just create an account, fund that account, and you can access multiple LLM. So you don't have to create separate accounts for, let's say, if you're going to use the Gemini 2.5 Pro, you're going to need to create a Google account. If you're going to use the GPT-5, you're going to create an OpenAI account. If you're going to use the Cloud Sonnet 4.5, you need to create an Anthropic account. You can see it gets quite complicated. So what this software does is that it helps you create an all-in-one account. Basically, you can access any API you want through the endpoint. And if we were to go to their models, you can see that this is quite endless. But what we're going to choose is going to choose a GPT-5, and when I tell it to do is that, well, when basically summarize this new data, and provide with the lead data we get, and then if we were to execute the step, just gonna give it some time, because when you're making API requests to LLM models, it takes quite some time, because normally with ChatGPT, it doesn't just give you the output instant. It takes some time. So you can see here, just summarize that. I basically gave us name is this, lead scoring and everything, prioritizing, follow up and stuff like that. Just normally how you would speak with ChatGPT. And you can add the memory by basically clicking at simple memory and choosing the session of the conversation, and also adding how many of the past conversations should be included for memory, so that the AI agent can have context of the past things that were said in the conversation. And you can also add other memory softwares like Redis, Postgres, MongoDB and stuff like that. But for the basics, you just want to stick with the simple memory. Basically what n8n gives you. It's quite simple to use and it gets most of your job done, so you don't need to use any of that. So you can see tools here. Just think of tools as actions the AI agent can do, basically, and that's what basically makes it an AI agent. It can call other n8n workflows, so it can basically execute another n8n workflow on its behalf, basically, or should I say on your behalf. And you can also add vector stores for creating a RAG pipeline, which is basically training an AI model on, let's say, your company docs and stuff like that. That's not just it for AI agents, there's more. As I told you, this is a masterclass. So with AI agents, there are different frameworks you can use depending on the task or what you're looking to achieve. So we're going to go in depth into the 6 different agentic frameworks, and you can see here it's quite a lot. And credits to n8n, because the reason the workflows he built here to give you a quick explanation of how each framework works. So starting first with the normal agent framework. So basically a normal agent is a single agent with access to tools like I just showed you previously. It handles everything itself, like creating emails, creating content, or updating the calendars. Simple, but sometimes it can get overwhelmed if tasks or tools get complex. And what you can see here, I basically explained this AI agent in the previous section. You can see it has access to tools, but if I was to add like 10 tools to this, it would get overwhelmed, and it's more likely to be inaccurate and not get to our expectations or what we intended for it to do. And when tasks are simple, for example like this one, a normal agent works fine. But what if the workflow has multiple specialized tasks? And that is where the multi-agent system comes into play. So the multi-agent framework, multi-agent system has a parent agent, which is the orchestrator, that delegates tasks to child agents. each specialize in a specific function of its own. And the parent just decides who does what and gathers the response. You can see here, this is the orchestrator, this is the parent agent, and there are 4 personalized sub-agents, or should I say child agents. You can see this calendar agent that we have here, which is a single agent, could be a sub-agent in a multi-agent system. There's an email agent, there's a contact agent, and there's a content creator agent. So you can see this agent is an ultimate assistant which can do 4 different tasks on 4 different domains, which first of all, you can see this one has access to your email. It can send email, it can reply to your emails, it can label your emails, it can create drafts, and it can get access to any email that you'd like it to do. And you can see this calendar, it can update event, delete event, get events, or even create an event. And you can see this contact agent, it basically gets the contact from your database. And finally, you have a content creator agent which can create content for you. So you can see this is quite diverse, and you should only use this when you're creating an ultimate assistant, like in this case, and you're assigning it with different tasks across different domains. Because if you were to give this agent all of these tools instead of giving it sub-agents as tools, it's definitely gonna make mistakes in production. So that is basically how the multi-agent framework works. So now this is great for complex tasks, but sometimes workflows are linear, where outputs naturally feed into the next step, and that is where prompt chaining comes into play. And this is the prompt chaining agentic framework. And the prompt chaining basically passes the output of one agent to the next agent in sequence, and each agent handles a specific step like outline, evaluator, or blog writing. And this basically improves the accuracy, specialization, and makes it easier for debugging. So we're basically taking 2 paradigms here, if you can, and if you've been focusing on this video. The 2 paradigms are, we are taking the best of the best from the workflow side of things and the best of the best from the agentic side of things. So you can see we're basically prompt chaining and linking up the agents back and forth, just in a linear manner like we would do in a normal workflow, but we're giving it agentic capability. So this is an outline agent which basically writes the outline, and then we have the evaluation which basically evaluates the outline that this has done. And then finally we have the blog writer, which based on the outline and the evaluation, it writes a blog, and then after that it puts everything in the doc. So that's basically how the prompt chain works. We're taking the best from the 2 paradigms, the workflow and agentic, and we're putting it to 1. So now linear sequences are good, but not all tasks are sequential. Some tasks need dynamic routing based on the type of input, and that is where routing frameworks are useful. So the routing agentic framework, which you can see here, and the routing agentic framework basically classify incoming requests and sends them to correct agent or workflow. For example, emails can be classified as a customer support, finance, or promotion, and routed the right persona, the right agentic, the right agent persona, which makes it efficient, modular, and extremely scalable. So you can see here we have an email trigger and an email classifier, which basically classifies the emails based on 4 categories. There's the high priority, there's the customer support, promotion, or finance billing. So an email could be an extremely high priority, or a customer support related email, or a promotion email, or a finance and billing related email. And then based on what this agent classified the email as, it basically first adds a label to that email, and then it gives it to its specialized agent for each purpose, so that it can basically reply the person to its best ability. Because if you give an agent multiple tasks to do or different personas, it's definitely not going to meet your expectations in production, and it's more likely to fail. So you can see here this agent is trained on high priority, and this agent also is trained on customer support, promotion agent, and also finance. And once it's done, it drafts up an email and sends a message on Telegram that has drafted a message for you. So that is basically how the routing agent works. And routing handles the task selection extremely well. But some workflows need multiple analysis at once, and for that is why we use parallelization. So parallelization agentic framework, which you can see here, and parallelization basically runs multiple agents simultaneously, each analyzing a different aspect of the input. For example, one agent analyzes the emotion of the user message, and another one analyzes the intent, and another one analyzes the bias. So you can see we're looking from different perspectives. And then a final agent basically aggregates the results, making it faster, specialized, and reduces latency. So in retrospect, we could actually apply this use case to the prompt chaining agent. We can use the bias, intent, and the other one, which is emotion, all in a linear format, but that would be extremely slow. So we want to make it fast. So that is why we use this parallelization agent framework, where the input of the last agent is not dependent on the results, or should I say the input of the previous agent, or should I say the next agent doesn't actually depend on the output of the previous agent. So this is where we could use the parallelization agent. You can see we route it into 3 different agents. We have the emotion agent, intent agent, and then the bias agent. And once it's done, we basically merge it and aggregate it and then provide it to the final agent. And the final agent basically looks at all of these 3 different angles and comes up to a conclusion and basically puts that into a Google Doc. So that is basically how the parallelization works. And parallelization improves speed a lot. So it basically runs 3 different tasks in the same amount of time one task could be done. Why I say it improves speed and specialization. But how do we ensure quality? And that is where the 6th and final framework comes into play, which is the evaluator optimizer framework. So now the evaluator optimizer framework basically creates a feedback loop. You remember how I was telling you about how you basically add guidelines here? But then you have to add it, but in order for you to add guidelines, you have to make sure you run the agent multiple times so that you can see how it performs, and then edit the prompt a bit so that you can make sure it performs better when that error use case happens. So that is how the evaluator, or should I say the optimizer agent framework works. And as I've said, what it does is that it creates a loop. The evaluator agent first of all checks if the output meets the criteria, which is basically your expectations of the AI agent. If it doesn't meet the expectations, it sends feedback to the optimizer agent, which improves output, and then the loop continues until the output is good enough. And this ensures high quality results and automatically without human review. So normally in most agentic workflows is that you would add a human in the loop, but we'll not be going into that today. If you'd like, I can create another video for that, but that is why we add a human in the loop. But in this case, we use AI to replicate that human in the loop feature, and we make sure that there's actually quality assurance in the output of our AI agent, which makes sure the AI agents are actually hitting our expectations most of the time. So you can see here we have a biography agent, which is basically what the agent normally does. Then we have an evaluator agent, which basically checks and evaluates the output of this biography agent. And based on the expectations that we set in the evaluator, it basically determines if it has met the expectations, or should I say the quality control result. And if yes, it basically pushes it into the rule doc and that's it's done. But if it's not done, we take it into the optimizer agent, and what it does is that it basically improves the output of this biography agent. to make sure it meets the quality control metric, which is the expectation that we're looking for it to achieve. So once we pass it back here, we set it here, which we set the variables outward, and then the evaluator agent checks, and if yes, it pushes. If not, it keeps on looping. And that is basically how the evaluator optimizer agent framework works. So now, here are the 5 practical tips for better agentic workflows. So first of all, specialize your agents. Make it have a focused purpose by assigning clear roles like email handler, content creator, or calendar manager. This makes it easier for you to debug, and also it improves your accuracy because narrow responsibilities prevents the AI agent from confusion like a specialist in basic. So, second one, use model flexibility wisely. You should know when you should use a lightweight model like GPT-5 mini or a powerful model like o3, o4 or GPT-5 Pro. So always use the lightweight models for simple repetitive tasks like data formatting, basic routing, and this keeps costs low and speed extremely high. As said, we're all optimizing for efficiency. And now, when you should use the powerful model, reserve this for reasoning intensive or quality critical tasks like final content generation or complex decision. So now, the third one, you should always leverage reusable component, which basically means build ones and use it everywhere. And this basically means like treat reliable sub-agents or sub-workflows as tools for your AI agent. Plug them into new and larger orchestrators instead of rebuilding, and this saves you a lot of time and shows consistency and helps you scale. Think of them as Lego blocks for your AI systems. So whenever you need, let's say, a calendar agent, you can plug in your calendar agent as a tool to, let's say, your main agent, or let's say you have a lead generation linear workflow, a magentic one, you can plug it as a tool to your main AI agent. So you see, it makes the building way easier and faster. And also make sure to always monitor and debug effectively. Always track prompt changes and performance over time. So let's say for making your guidelines for your AI agent, let's say you ran and then you saw that, okay, this AI agent didn't handle this use case as I expected to handle. So what you will do is basically change that prompt and reuse the evaluation nodes, which I have a video that basically explains how to run the evaluation, and basically track the performance. Did the agent actually improve? If not, improve the prompt again. Then, as I said, use the evaluation node to automatically assess output quality and review logs to see how the agents communicate and make performance decisions. And this insight is key to refining and troubleshooting. So now, the game changer, which is what I've been telling you to hold on for, which is give your agents the ability to think. This is the most powerful tip because it allows standard LLMs like GPT-5 mini, GPT-5 to reason, plan, and make smarter decisions by integrating a thinking tool. You dramatically improve your workflow's accuracy and adaptability by just adding this. And let me show you how you can add that. So let's go to one of our workflows here. Go to this appointment booking agent. Just search think tool. Get to here. We just added thinking capabilities in this AI agent. And you can see if you open the prompt here, the default prompt is that it just basically says use the tool to think about something. It will not obtain new information or change the database, but just to append the thought to the log. Use it when complex reasoning or some cached memory is needed. So this basically just thinks and provides it to the log, and then this main AI agent just looks at the log and see, okay, the thinking tool thought about this too as well. So, and I'm going to include what it thought into my consideration for my final output. So that is basically how you add the thinking tool to your AI agent. All right, so let's quickly wrap up what we just covered today. So now you understand the power of AI agents in n8n, how they think, adapt, and make decisions to turn ordinary workflows into intelligent systems that run on their own. That means you're no longer limited to static automation. You can create workflows that actually get results, solve problems, and evolve on their own. If you want to take this even further, I invite you to join the Builders Lab, which is the first link in the description, where over 200 members are learning step by step to build, optimize, and scale AI automation workflows. On top of that, you get access to templates, tutorials, live sessions with me where you can ask me any question, and also direct support. So everything you need to go from experimenting to production ready automation. And if you'd rather have a done for you solution, you can check out Fiction AI, which is the second link in the description below, which is my agency, where you can make an inquiry and it will get back to you within 24 hours if you meet our criteria. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, the future of automation isn't just about following instructions, it's about building systems that think, act, and grow. So now, go create something that actually changes the way you work and the way the world works around you. Al Ahmed, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.